This week, I have to do one of my least favorite things when it comes to being an author. Oh, boo-hoo. You have the most amazing job in the world. You get to write books. How can anything not be magical? I mean, you're writing books as a living. You probably just go to cocktail parties constantly and wear turtlenecks while commenting on the modern art scene, which is hardly a scene right now. Am I right? Ridiculous. Isn't my entire job essentially running around in a field with a ribbon and adjectives? No. That's only like half of my job, maybe 60% of my job, depending on how many ribbons I'm working with that particular week. No, there are some things I don't like to do, some difficult parts, some aspects of my job that make my skin crawl with awkwardness. And today, I'm going to tell you one of them. And I'm going to give you the 5 steps you can use to do anything that you're terrified of. 5 steps, and they're really easy steps. This week, I have to ask people to endorse my new book. Why is that so hard? Because it's a bit like the adult version of asking someone to the prom. That's what it feels like. Do you remember doing that when you were in high school, way before promposals? Was that fun? If you could do that 20 or 30 times, would you think, yay, constant possible rejection? Of course not. Only in this case, it's not the prom. You're asking someone to put their name, their reputation on something that it took you years to create. Something that despite every obstacle that mounts itself against publication, you wrestled to completion. 81% of American adults want to write a book. That's according to the New York Times. 81%, less than 1% do every year. And you've finally done it. The book is finished. Now, you just have to ask semi-strangers to say that it's a good book. Now, don't get your identity all wrapped up in this process. Don't do that. That's what they always say, of course. But to quote the movie Taken, good luck. Despite your best efforts, your identity gets involved a little bit. And you have to jump into this project knowing that some people, maybe even a lot of people, are going to say no. That's going to happen. And it should. I don't harbor any ill will to anyone who tells me no. I tell people no all the time too. There are a million legitimate reasons that people can pass on endorsing your book. There really are. You know that in your head, but it's challenging because fear lives in your heart and your belly. That's where fear is. But if you believe in the book, and I do, you have to do it. You have to grit your teeth and push through every fear. So you do. So do you. Right now, there's a thing you're supposed to do. There is. You've known it for maybe a week or maybe a month, maybe a year, maybe even a decade. Let's pause right here for just a second. What's the first thing that came to your mind when I asked that question, when I said that statement? What are you supposed to do? Throw that in the comments. I'm curious, what are you actually working on? What are the things that you're interested in? You see, there's something you're supposed to do. I know there is, but you've been afraid to do it. Maybe even terrified. Maybe you're running from it. How do you do those things that terrify you? Well, here are the 5 steps I use. Number 1, turn the fear into a list. I can't act on a fear. A fear is too big and undefined and shapeless. I don't know how to approach it, but if I can take that seemingly massive blob of doubt and stress and anxiety and turn it into a list, I can actually see that there are some actions hidden in it. You see, fear's action. It's terrified that you're going to take the next step and the next step and the next step and discover that the thing you've been avoiding is not impossible. In the case of the endorsement requests that I'm making, I made a list of all the people I wanted to ask. From folks I knew would say yes, friends that I was connected to impossible people like Yanni. Yeah, I said it, Yanni. And then I started to work through the list. Number 2, set a time frame. Fear always says forever. It always says that thing you're afraid to do will take an eternity. I say by the end of this week, I'll be done. Fear can't stand deadlines. It wants to remain untethered by any semblance of time, able to storm through any moment of your day, any night, unabated. Forget that. Set some time frames. Set some time frames for the actions you're going to do. Put some action and some time frames together. And that's going to chase the fear away. I used 3 to help me with this particular task. I had a month-long deadline, meaning that I had to have all the endorsements, all of them gathered, completely turned into the publisher by a certain date. So I had a month long. Then I had a week deadline for myself, meaning that I gave myself a week to send them all out. I had 5 days that I was going to work on that. Then I made it even smaller and would set an hourly timer each day. I boxed fear so tightly into my calendar, it didn't know what to do. Number 3, tell someone. Fear hates being shared because if you share it with someone else, they can help you with it. Don't carry that fear all by yourself. You're not designed to shoulder every single fear alone. I told multiple people that this was endorsement week, which is like Shark Week for writers. I told a bunch of my friends. I put it out there that it was go time. I was jumping into this project. It helped having some accountability and some encouragement from people that I trusted. Number 4 asks, what's the worst that can happen? What's the worst that could happen? I used to hate when people would say that. They'd say, hey, what's the worst that can happen? Somebody says no. Yeah, that is the worst that can happen. That is terrible that somebody would say no. I can't imagine that. No is terrible. It's crushing. But that's just not true. You see, the problem is that fear is a kaleidoscope. It's a magnifying glass. It's an exaggerator of the 10th degree. Right now, what's the worst thing that could happen if you actually do that thing that you're afraid of? Write that answer down. I guarantee it's so much smaller than you think. Fear would tell you, and it told me, that the worst thing that can happen if I ask somebody to endorse my book and they say no, the worst thing that could happen is that they will respond and go, no, and this is a dumb book. You probably shouldn't even write books. This is your 7th book. Woo! How have you even been able to trick publishers for so many years? You didn't even say the word publisher right in this video, and your hair is far too gray for your age. That's what fear would tell me is going to happen when I ask somebody to endorse my book, that their no will come with all those extra words, but it won't. That's never the case. It's usually, no, I'm too busy, but I wish you the best. People who tell me no are always so nice. I can collect that L like a champ. You know that thing you're afraid of? It's not so scary. I promise. And number 5, the 5th thing you can do, remember why you're doing it in the first place. Want to know why I pushed myself harder on these endorsements than I ever have on any other book? Because I believe in this book. It's about overthinking. And I think after the year we've had, everyone on the planet is going to need this book. You can pre-order a copy at the link in the description. I believe in this book in my bones. And when I remember that, when I can see that, I'm more than willing to do things that make me feel uncomfortable. Things that make me afraid, things that make me feel awkward. When you have to do something that terrifies you, remember, why am I doing this? Have you ever heard someone say, if it were easy, everyone would do it? That's a popular phrase, and it's true, sort of, because it is easy. Sending those endorsements, sending out those requests is physically easy. I know how to send emails. I know how to write emails. I know how to respond to emails. All of that is very easy. It's the fear that makes it hard. That's the challenge. The thing you're afraid of doing is easier than you think. There's just fear in the way. The next time that you bump into it, the next time you bump into that fear, do those 5 things. Number 1, turn it into a list. Number 2, set a time frame. Number 3, tell someone. Number 4, ask, what's the worst that can happen? And number 5, remember why you're doing it in the first place. I'll even help you with that 3rd step. I'll give you a chance right now. What's the thing that you know you're supposed to do? What's the thing that you've been running from? Tell me in the comments so that I can encourage you. We'll go ahead and knock out step 3. We can get that one done today. Thanks for watching this. Make sure that you hit subscribe, tap that bell, and please click like. I really love that you watch these videos. I'll keep making them if you keep watching them.